She didn't ask for it. She didn't campaign for it. She just showed up. And a league that had survived on loyalty and grit started to crack. Caitlin Clark walked into the WNBA, and suddenly everything the league thought it knew about itself was up for debate. Arenas filled, TV ratings soared, and the spotlight came with a question no one wanted to answer. Was she being celebrated or punished for making the game impossible to ignore? Alongside her, Brittney Griner, the veteran who has seen it all, offered perspective, experience, and authority, bridging the old guard and the new.
Griner comes up with the steal and maybe a little showtime! Brittney Griner, the two-handed finish.
This is the story of how one rookie and one legend shook the foundation of women's basketball, and why the fallout is still rewriting the rules today. Clark's physicality crisis. From her very first game, Caitlin Clark learned something that no scouting report could have prepared her for. In the WNBA, the brightest star gets the hardest hits. Opening night, May 2024. Connecticut Sun. The Fever got demolished 92-71, and Clark turned the ball over 10 times. A rookie record. But what caught people's attention wasn't the turnovers. It was the way defenders came at her, multiple bodies, physical contact that went beyond normal defensive intensity, screens set with a force that sent her stumbling. Within 3 games, she'd already been blindsided by a Breanna Stewart screen so hard that the clip was trending before the first quarter ended. And the narrative formed fast. Too fast, some would argue. On one side, fans who had followed Clark since Iowa believed she was being targeted. They pointed to the numbers. She was drawing the most fouls of any rookie in the league, absorbing contact that felt deliberate.
Clark goes left, and the layup gets the record. More points than any other player in Big Ten history.
Enduring a level of physicality that veterans themselves acknowledged was unusual. On the other side, the league's loyalists pushed back hard. This is professional basketball. Now, Candace Parker said it plainly on a podcast. Every generational talent, from Diana Taurasi to herself to Aja Wilson, has gone through this. The scouting report on elite players is to be physical. Take extra licks. That's the game. Both things were true, and neither truth made anyone feel better. Then came June 1st, 2024, Indiana versus Chicago, and a moment that turned a basketball debate into a cultural flashpoint. With the ball not even in play, Unchenedy Carter lowered her shoulder and drove it into Clark's body, sending her sprawling to the floor. The arena went silent for a beat, then erupted.
The Sky's Kennedy Carter hitting a shot, then heading over to Clark and shoulder checking her.
It wasn't a basketball play. Clark herself said it on the broadcast. That's just not a basketball play. The referees called a common foul and moved on. Angel Reese, Carter's teammate and Clark's college rival, leaped off the bench clapping. Carter walked to the other end of the court without looking back. After the game, where a reporter asked Carter about the play, her response became its own headline: "I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions." The next day, the WNBA upgraded the foul to a flagrant one. No fine, no suspension. Carter later said she had no regrets. Social media detonated. Millions of views. Endless takes. Skip Bayless called it bullying. LaShawn McCoy compared it to the way the NBA once needed to protect Michael Jordan. Others said it was a normal, hard foul being weaponized by people who had never watched women's basketball before Clark made them care. And Clark? She handled it the way she would handle everything that followed. Basketball's competitive. Sometimes your emotions get the best of you. It is what it is. She praised Carter's season. She said she was focused on her team. She refused to play the victim. But the damage wasn't about one foul. Yet it was about what the foul revealed. A league that didn't know how to protect its biggest asset without alienating the players who'd been there long before she arrived. Clark's economic paradox. Let's put something in perspective, because the numbers tell a story that emotions can't distort. By the end of her rookie season, Caitlin Clark had received 5 flagrant fouls committed against her. 5. And that accounted for nearly 17% of every flagrant foul called in the entire league that season. Think about that. One player. 17% of all the flagrants. NBA legends Rick Barry and George Gervin went on camera calling the treatment reprehensible. Clark's own coach, Christy Sides, said publicly that she was sending video clips to the league office because the contact had crossed a line. A Fever general manager, Lynn Dunn, wrote on social media that the league needed to clean up the crap and called it unnecessary targeting. And yet here's the paradox that nobody in the league offices wanted to confront. While Clark was absorbing more punishment than almost anyone on the court, she was also single-handedly rewriting the league's economic story. The 2024 season saw record attendance, arenas averaging sellouts whenever the Fever played. Television ratings for games featuring Clark were so high that they skewed the league's overall numbers. ESPN reported that across 25 regular season games in 2025, the WNBA averaged 1.3 million viewers on its networks. But strip out Fever games and that number collapses. Total attendance hit 2.5 million fans across 226 games. Clark's presence helped drive a media rights deal worth $2.2 billion over 11 years with Disney, Amazon, and NBC Universal. Franchise valuations jumped 180% in a single year. The Indiana Fever went from a forgotten franchise to the third most valuable team in the league at $335 million. She made $78,000 that season. Let that sit for a second. The player most responsible for a billion-dollar economic transformation of women's basketball earned less than a first-year public school teacher in most American cities. And instead of the league rallying around her, protecting her, celebrating what she meant to the business, she spent her rookie year dodging elbows, absorbing hip checks, and being told by veterans that this was just how it works. Clark never complained publicly. She never pointed fingers. When asked if Carter owed her an apology, she deflected with grace. She's having a tremendous season. She's played great basketball. When asked about physicality in general, she acknowledged it without bitterness. I think everybody's physical with me. They get away with things that probably other people don't get away with. It's tough, but that's just the fact of the matter. That restraint wasn't a weakness. It was a strategy. Because while the noise raged on social media, Clark was quietly building something that no amount of hard fouls could stop. A brand, a following, and a level of cultural relevance that gave her more power than any player in WNBA history. Power she would eventually need when the real fight began. The one over money. A Clark double standard. Here's where the story gets uncomfortable, because the physicality wasn't the only thing that felt uneven. The reactions were lopsided too, and the pattern ran in more directions than most people are willing to admit. When Chennedy Carter hip-checked Clark, the league took a full day to upgrade the foul and issued zero punishment beyond the reclassification. No fine, no suspension. Carter said she had no regrets. When Angel Reese was thrown to the floor by Connecticut's Alyssa Thomas on a hard foul that same season, the officials immediately went to the monitor, reviewed the footage, and upgraded it to a flagrant 2 with an automatic ejection on the spot. Same league, same season, wildly different responses on the floor. Clark accumulated 6 technical fouls during her rookie campaign, several for things like slapping a basket stanchion in frustration or arguing a call too aggressively. One referee told her the technical was for being disrespectful to the game of basketball. She was 1 tech away from a mandatory suspension. Meanwhile, the players committing flagrant contact against her walked away with warnings or nothing at all. The optics were brutal. But here's the part most YouTube channels won't tell you honestly. The double standard cut both ways, and pretending otherwise is intellectually dishonest. While Clark was absorbing hits and drawing outrage from new fans, Angel Reese was receiving death threats. Brittney Griner, after a physical playoff game against the Fever, where she poked Clark in the eye, was followed by disgruntled fans and needed security. Black players across the league spent the entire 2024 season watching their inboxes fill with racist abuse from people who claimed to be defending Caitlin Clark. People Clark herself never asked for and never endorsed. When the WNBA finally released a statement condemning player harassment, fans noticed the timing. It came after a Clark incident, not after months of black players begging for the same protection. As one commenter put it, Angel Reese and Brittney Griner spoke out about this in July, and y'all ignored it. Sue Bird, the retired legend, said it plainly on a podcast with Megan Rapinoe. Racism has been impacting the WNBA well before this year. Caitlin didn't bring racism to the WNBA. Well, this has been happening. And then there was the economic double standard that nobody could argue away. Clark landed a nearly $30 million Nike shoe deal before playing a single professional game.
Caitlin Clark about to take it to the bank. The Wall Street Journal reports the basketball superstar is about to sign a Nike endorsement deal.
A'ja Wilson, a 4-time MVP, 2-time WNBA champion, Olympic gold medalist, and New York Times bestselling author, only got her Nike signature deal after Clark got hers, with less fanfare and reportedly less money. Before Clark and Wilson, the only active WNBA players with signature shoe deals were Elena Del Don, Sabrina Ionescu, and Breanna Stewart. All white. That's not opinion. That's a fact that sits in the room whether anyone wants to acknowledge it or not. Clark, to her credit, did acknowledge it. In a December 2024 conversation with Time magazine, she said directly, "As a white person, there is privilege." That sentence earned her genuine respect from people like A'ja Wilson, who told Time that Clark's arrival wasn't a personal slight, but that the league's Black Foundation deserved recognition. "We have been invested in each other and our craft for a very long time," Wilson said. "It was just like, they're going to pay attention." And then just this week, the double standard surfaced again in a completely different arena: the CBA negotiations. Back in December, Clark said the negotiations were the biggest moment in league history, and that both sides needed to compromise, that they needed to play basketball. Parts of the fan base and some veteran voices criticized her for not being aggressive enough in supporting the union's position. Fast forward to this week, when Paige Bueckers said almost the exact same thing: "We as players, we don't want to strike. We want to have a season," and was praised as bold, fearless, and refreshingly honest. Fans noticed immediately. One wrote, "So when Princess Paige says it, it's fine, I guess." Same message, different messenger, different reception, every single time. Clark never let any of it consume her. Despite the technicals, the targeting, the cultural war being fought on her body without her consent, she finished her rookie season as the first player in WNBA history on pace to average at least 15 points.
Breaking news here on SportsCenter, and a surprise to absolutely nobody. Caitlin Clark has been named WNBA Rookie of the Year.
5 rebounds and 5 assists as a rookie. She led the Fever to the playoffs for the first time in years. She broke the all-time rookie assist record, and she did it while absorbing more flagrant fouls than nearly any player in the league. The question was never whether Caitlin Clark belonged. The question was whether the WNBA, its players, its owners, its media, its fans, deserved what she was giving it. Silent strategic influence. But here's the twist. While the on-court drama consumed social media and sports television, the real battle was happening in conference rooms and on encrypted group chats, because the same tensions that fueled the physicality debate, veteran resentment, generational friction, questions about who the league truly valued, were about to explode in a labor fight that threatened to cancel an entire season. In October 2024, the Players Association opted out of the collective bargaining agreement. The message was clear. The old deal, in which paid players roughly 7 to 9% of league revenue, while NBA players took home 50%, was no longer acceptable. Not when franchise values were skyrocketing, not when billionaire owners were paying $250 million expansion fees to join a league they once wouldn't have touched, not when financial services firm Deloitte, the league's own advisor, projected revenues could reach $1 billion. The players wanted their share, and for the first time in WNBA history, they had the leverage to demand it. And here's where Clark's impact quietly became the most important variable in the negotiation. Because every time the union argued that players deserved more money, the evidence was Caitlin Clark. She was the reason the TV deal with Disney, Amazon, and NBC Universal landed at $2.2 billion over 11 years instead of a fraction of that. She was the reason attendance shattered records. 2.5 million fans across 226 games in 2025. She was the reason advertisers who had never glanced at women's basketball were suddenly writing checks. The veterans who resented her presence on the court needed her economic footprint at the bargaining table. And that contradiction, needing the person you've been punishing, is the kind of tension that breaks institutions. But the negotiations didn't just expose a rift between players and owners. They cracked the union wide open from the inside. In a contentious virtual meeting in late February 2026, players who had authorized a strike vote with 98% approval just weeks earlier started backing away from that position. The union's executive director, Terry Carmichael Jackson, sent a letter to members afterward describing the meeting as spirited, passionate, and at times tough. She called it engagement. Others called it chaos. If sources told Front Office Sports that more than half of player leadership still supported striking if necessary, but that meant a significant chunk no longer did. The unity that looked so powerful in December was fracturing in real time. Meanwhile, the numbers on the table told a story of historic progress that some veterans refused to acknowledge publicly. The league's latest proposal would raise the salary cap from $1.5 million to $5.75 million, a 280% increase. And the average player compensation would jump from $120,000 to $540,000 in year one. Maximum salaries would leap from $249,000 to $1.3 million, with projections approaching $2 million by 2031. For the first time ever, the WNBA triggered revenue sharing in 2025.
The WNBA is projected to double their revenue this year from 2019.
Distributing $8 million directly to players and another $9.25 million from licensing deals covering jerseys, trading cards, and video games. This wasn't incremental. This was transformational. And the league even included a provision designed specifically to fast-track the new generation. Any player on a rookie contract who earned all WNBA first or second team honors could sign a maximum deal in their fourth year, meaning Aaliyah Boston was immediately eligible, Clark would qualify in 2027, and Paige Bueckers in 2028. It was a carrot aimed directly at the players driving the league's growth, and it landed in the middle of a union already splitting along generational lines. Out then came the bombshell. On Tuesday of this week, Breanna Stewart and Kelsey Plum, both vice presidents of the Players Association and two of the most powerful names in women's basketball, wrote a 3-page letter to their own executive director, not to the league, not to the owners, to the woman running their union. In that letter, obtained by ESPN, they expressed serious concerns about how the PA is handling the current negotiations and including the lack of adequate communication with players. They said they'd been made to feel as though we are acting against the interests of the PA when raising questions. And then the line that stunned the basketball world. Many other players across the league feel these same frustrations and have expressed them to us, but feel afraid or unable to speak out. Afraid inside their own union. Stewart, a 2-time MVP and Olympic gold medalist, a co-founder of Unrivaled who literally built a competing league from scratch, felt she had to put that word in writing. Plum, who had just dropped 31 points to lead her Phantom team to the Unrivaled championship game hours before the letter leaked, signed every word. Stewart later told the Associated Press the letter wasn't meant to go public, but it did, and the fallout was immediate. The executive committee, all 7 members, including Plum and Stewart, released a joint statement the next day, attempting to project unity. We remain united and focused on delivering a transformational CBA for all members of this union. They reaffirmed the strike authorization. They said the league's current offer was not worth taking, but they also acknowledged what everyone watching already knew. The clock was running out. The season was 5 days from being jeopardized. Was and the people fighting for the players couldn't agree on how to fight. And sitting in the middle of all of it, quietly, strategically, letting the chaos speak for itself, was a 24-year-old from Iowa who made $78,000 last season while generating more economic value than any player in the league's 29-year history. Clark called these negotiations the biggest moment the WNBA has ever seen back in December. She said compromise was necessary. She said they needed to play basketball. People criticized her for not being loud enough. But right now, with the union tearing itself apart from within, her restraint looks less like silence and more like the smartest play on the board. The league is bigger than ever, the stakes higher than anyone imagined, and the spotlight has never shone this brightly. But power, talent, Art and ambition don't always align, and the woman who changed everything is still carrying the weight of a league that's still figuring out how to survive her success. Caitlin Clark didn't just play basketball, she forced a reckoning, and now the question lingers. Will the WNBA rise to meet the moment, or will it fracture under the pressure she exposed? The story is far from over.